Você levantar uma informação em uma espécie animal, seja rato, cobaia, gato, cachorro, seja lá o que for, e transferir essa informação para outra espécie, isso do ponto de vista metodológico é absolutamente inadequado. Algumas coisas já demonstraram isso, né? Por exemplo, o caso da talidomida.
Sintetizada no final da década de 50, a talidomida era um sedativo largamente receitado para as mulheres que enjoavam durante a gravidez.
Na bula fala que não tinha efeitos colaterais, que era um remédio assim, sem nenhum problema.
Em estudos com animais, seus efeitos sobre a formação dos fetos não haviam se mostrado relevantes.
Então tem gente com problema de visão, de audição, órgãos internos, outras só nos membros.
Ela foi retirada do mercado em 1961 e reintroduzida em 1965 para tratamento coadjuvante da hanseníase.
A talidomida é barata e interessa para o governo fabricar, por quê? Porque tem muito hanseniano. Então, assim, é uma população pobre que não tem dinheiro para comprar remédio, então o governo precisa de uma coisa barata para tirar aquelas dores rapidinha da pessoa. Nossa última vítima tem 6 meses. É um Alan que nasceu em Rondônia, né? Então ele tem 6 meses. Então ele é nascido em 2005, enquanto que em lugar nenhum do mundo existe vítima de segunda geração. E o pai dele leva 60 comprimidos da droga para casa e a mãe acabou pegando, tomou como se fosse um remédio para dor de cabeça, porque não teve informação de que aquele medicamento causava deficiência se ela tomasse, caso estivesse grávida ou viesse a engravidar. Nada é seguro, a ciência não é exata. Quando eu nasci, falaram para minha mãe que eu não viveria. E eu tô aqui para dizer para eles que era mentira. Então a ciência não é.
Mas a ciência acredita que é. 15 mil vítimas não foram suficientes para provar que o modelo animal não é confiável. Pelo contrário, acreditando que os testes em animais haviam sido insuficientes, eles foram intensificados e se tornaram obrigatórios. Hoje estima-se que 100 milhões de animais sejam assassinados todos os anos.
And even though, no matter how many animals you test a drug in, you always give it to that first human being, there's always going to be that human experimental subject.
When people pay for drugs, for pharmaceutical products, they are paying to be the experimental animals for the product.
And in fact, many drugs, more than half of all drugs that are tested safely in animals, once they're given to humans, they get completely unpredictable results, and the drug either has to be taken off the market or severely relabeled because of unexpected side effects that were not predicted in animals.
People believe, because it went through the animal testing procedure, that they're going to be okay. But here in the United States, 100,000 people die every year after taking drugs that have been prescribed to them by their physician. Every one of these drugs passed the animal tests. What do you tell someone who's lost a mother, a father, a brother, a loved one as a result of taking one of these drugs? Oops, well, we tried it on a rat.
We have so many ways to learn about research and to learn about cures for human diseases. Besides clinical research, there's ways to grow human cells in cultures and tissue dishes. There's something called microarray testing, where thousands of tests can be done on a single microscopic slide for testing for toxicity. There's lots of studies with CAT scans, with MRI and PET scanners that show us the inside and the workings of the human body while it's still alive. There's autopsy studies where we learn about what affects humans and what kills them by studying their bodies after they've died. All of this is much more effective, much more likely to lead to cures for human diseases than experimenting on animals. And so why are we still stuck experimenting on animals? This is something that's 100 years old or 50 years old that has no place in the 21st century.
We now know much more about animals, animal nature, animal sentience, and we realize that it's not ethical to use animals in these ways. Therefore, with these extraordinary brains that we have, let's get the scientists around the world together to work on ways of doing things so that we don't need to use any animals.
Why does animal research continue today? It continues today because mainly because of money. There's so many people making so much money off of an established system, okay? So there's a lot of money. A lot of the research grants are given to people preferentially that are doing animal research, because they go to the people who give grants and they say, well, I've been doing this animal research for the last 20 years and you can't stop now because I'm just around the corner from some cure.
Well, we found that these cures are not around the corner, that cancer rates are going up each year, the incidences of heart disease are going up each year, that we can't even cure the common cold. And so the arguments that the pro-vivisectionists use play on people's fears, and they play on their hopes for getting better.
After a drug has been on the market for a while, they lose the patent, and other companies can then make generic versions of the drugs and sell the same thing for less. So these companies are looking for new products that will still be under patent. They produce new drugs every year. Do we necessarily need these new drugs? Probably not, because they're usually drugs that are doing the same thing as some other drug that we already have.
The biomedical industry is a profit-driven industry. It's not, it's related in some ways to healthcare, but it's not a healthcare industry as many people believe. It's really an animal exploitation industry. It's a cage production industry, an equipment production industry. It's an industry that gets grants from public funding in order to perpetuate itself like any other industry.
That's what drives this business. It's not about science, it's not about human health, it's about money.
Dinheiro e lucro sempre nortearam as ações dos homens.
We talk a lot about what we might gain by doing animal experimentation, but I think what we lose by relying on our selfish nature, by experimenting on animals, by what we may someday, if we get lucky, have to gain, is far greater. That nobility, that idea of compassion, of being humane, is more than any scientific gain that we may stand to get from the studies. And we should really look to the best of what makes us human rather than the worst.